in the dark. 60 seconds of stoicism, finding calm in the prism.
Welcome everyone to 60 Seconds of Stoicism. I am your host, Ryan Lee Mays. With me is my wife, Melinda.
Hey guys, good to be back.
We are back. I know you guys thought we abandoned you and we left forever, but we are back with Season 2, Episode 1.
Yay!
Yeah, so we haven't filmed an episode since July 7th, which was a bit ago.
Feels like a year.
Yeah, but there was definitely a reason for that. The main reason is we were finishing our book, which is finally done.
Woohoo!
Yeah, the book is called Dear Marcus, Be Kind, and it is a book for children age 3 to about age 10. One of the things we got a lot from last season when people would ask us if I want to introduce Stoicism or Western philosophy to my child, how do I go about that? And there really just is not a lot of resources out there. There's a few. There's a few that I would recommend, but not a lot. So we decided let's make a book where we can take the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, we can bring them into modern times with our young Marcus, or Dear Marcus as we call him, and he can start teaching those lessons to today's youth. And they can learn these valuable lessons, things like getting up out of the bed, becoming the human being to do the job that you were meant to do, looking for opportunities to be kind. So those are in the book. So the book's called Dear Marcus, Be Kind. It's available right now on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
We have it at an introductory price for the next couple of weeks, so you can get a little bit cheaper on there. And please leave us a review.
Yes, please reviews, guys.
We've got another book that's already in the works. In fact, I just finished writing it, and now we're going to the editing and then illustration process on it. I will give you a spoiler alert what the second book is about. It's called Dear Marcus, Meet My Epic Friend.
Yay.
So if you know this channel, you should know right away. But yes, that's coming up. So we're excited for that. We'll probably have that out before, or actually right at the beginning of the new year when that comes out. So thank you guys for your support. But we're back for Season 2, Episode 1.
Yeah.
One of the things that I know you got asked a lot,
Yeah,
and
so...
I got it too, but go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. So our listeners that we've had, a couple people have asked me, who are new to Stoicism and, philosophy and things like that. So they were like, who are these guys, or how, can you tell me more details? We've kind of heard of them, but not, but, I'm just a student as well. My husband has been studying for the past 5 to 6 years, and I'm still learning. So this is just as good for me to some of our listeners that have been asking for this specifically.
Good.
So.
Very good. And that's what we want to do. We really want to deep dive into the Stoics themselves, not just get like one sentence snippets out, which are great and we can use them for everyday lives, but really get into some of the text and how that can fundamentally change us to have more equanimity in our life, to have more ataraxia, to be less controlled by our passions, and to just go about with a happier life, for sure.
For sure.
I will give you guys a alert that we are in a I don't want to say danger zone. That's not it. We're by our Air Force base that we have out here that's not too far from where I work. We're parked just a couple of miles away from it, so you may hear a jet scream overhead.
I'm sorry, I chose the Sonic right by the Air Force base.
Look, I needed my tea with apple in it, and yes, now I'm totally fine. So, but we get to have some time to spend with you guys talking about this. So, going back to that spoiler alert for the book, this week we are going to deep dive into Epictetus. And Epictetus is by far my favorite of all Stoics. I love them all. They all have great information on how to live our lives day to day, the framework that helps us get through a lot of things we have. But Epictetus is that wise man that just knows what to say and how to say it, can be very intellectual at some points, can be very almost silly at some points. He had a great sense of humor. He was very spiritual in his beliefs. But this is who we're going to dive into today. A lot of people say Epictetus is really hard to get into. There's not a lot written from him. In fact, he never really wrote down anything. He just taught. It was his student, Arian, that wrote down the words that are in his discourses and then in the Enchiridion, which we're going to talk about tonight. But I actually love starting with Epictetus. And I tell people, if you're going to get into philosophy, get the Enchiridion. It's just pages long.
Yeah.
It's the thinnest book. I remember 5 years ago when I got my copy, I got it in the mail and I didn't think there was anything in the mailer. I'm like, what is this? They forgot to send the book. And then I opened it up and it is a very tiny pamphlet because Enchiridion means handbook. This is a handbook for life. And so this is giving us a few lessons that we can really take and just implement right away for us. So if you guys want to find a place to jump into, get the Enchiridion. I think last time I saw it on Amazon, it was like $4. So you can get a really cheap copy. I've got multiple ones. This one I have in my hand is so beat up. It's been in my back pocket. It's got stuff written in it. The cover's bent up like crazy because it's been read so much, but it's great. So what we're going to do is let's talk a little bit about who Epictetus was. So his name, Epictetus, actually means the acquired one because he was a slave. He was a slave for his first 30 years of life. Historically, people believe around 30 years. If you served for 30 years or from the time you were a young child to the age of 30 or 35, depending on where it was at, then you could petition for your freedom to be in the Roman culture, to be kept out. So we hear about Lucius Seneca, the other philosopher at that time, the other Stoic at that time. He was in the court of King Nero, so he was an advisor to Nero, Seneca was. So they were very much in the political realm, while Epictetus was actually the slave of one of the people within Nero's court. So Epictetus and Seneca were at the same time, but just two very different sides of the coin.
Nice.
You have an extremely rich Stoic, very wealthy, very powerful in Seneca, and you have a poor slave in Epictetus. Mm-hmm. Some would say that the poor one has supplanted the rich one in their writings, but a wealth of information from both of them that we can use. So that is what Epictetus was. He was a slave. One thing characteristically about Epictetus was he walked with a limp. He has a hurt leg. There's a couple of different schools of thought for that. There are some that say he was born that way. Others say that it was broken by his master. One day his master was kind of torturing him. I guess the master was kind of just very aggressive, and in a fit of rage, he grabbed Epictetus, and some say randomly, oh, there's that jet that's going overhead here. So when this master grabbed Epictetus, he started twisting his leg, and Epictetus kept warning him, if you keep twisting my leg, it's going to break. And he tells him again, if you keep twisting it, it's going to break. And sure enough, what did it do? It broke. And Epictetus was lame because of that. Yeah. And he had to walk with the limp, and, you know, it's something that he had to keep for the rest of his life. There was other philosophers and writers that said, no, he was actually just born that way, and that didn't happen. Some say that's their sour grapes trying to take away from him. Some say that was him just trying to use his lameness, so to speak, to prove his points. But regardless, he had to live a tougher life with this ailment that he had, this malady that he had to deal with. So what he does is, in his 30s, he gets a teacher. He begs, he petitions his owner at the time to let him go study Stoicism, and he gets a teacher named Musonius Rufus, who we're going to talk about and do a dive on eventually. But Musonius Rufus is known as the Roman Socrates. This guy is incredibly smart in philosophy. He's a great teacher, and Epictetus just takes to his work right away and starts to learn from him. Once Epictetus is done, he decides that he is going to start his own school of philosophy. Doesn't go well. He goes out into the streets of Rome, he starts teaching, and somebody walks up and punches him in the face.
Oh my gosh.
Because they disagree with him.
This poor guy.
Yes. So if you ever try to start something new and you get knocked down at the beginning, remember, it's probably better than getting punched.
You might be doing something right.
Or you might be doing something right, yes. In his case, he was.
Yeah.
So he actually goes back to Greece, starts his own school up, and becomes such a great philosopher that even Hadrian, the emperor, comes to him and says, teach me, because I want to learn. So now you have the slave that is teaching the master, so to speak, not his master, but, the emperor, teaching somebody of high power on how to live their life. So that is who Epictetus is. Mm-hmm. We want to deep dive into the Enchiridion.
It's a good backstory.
That he wrote. So yeah, absolutely. Listen to these words. We're going to kind of go through them. We're going to talk about how they apply to us today. And this first passage is from the Enchiridion. It says, if you're dazzled by the semblance of any promised pleasure, guard yourself against being bewildered by it. So if you see something that you like that is exciting you, it's titillating, it's something that you really just want to have or obtain or experience. Think of it for just a second before you do that. But let not the affair wait. Let it be pushed over to leisure and procure yourself some delay. So stop and think about what you're doing before you jump in and do this. Then bring to your mind both points of time, that in which you shall enjoy the pleasure. All right, so the first thing is, what can I get out of this? This is great. Let's think about it. It could be an expensive purchase. It could be indulgence in food that you know is bad for you. It could be sex. It could be
A car.
a car.
A car that you
Yes.
couldn't afford.
Exactly. It could be, robbing a bank. Like, let's get real crazy with it, but that could be. So he's saying, for a second, stop and think about all the good stuff for it. This might feel good. This might taste good. This might possibly lead to helping me out with it. But then he goes on to say that after you do that, think about it for a second for the time that you'll have to repent and reproach yourself after you enjoyed it. So now think about what comes after that.
Guilt. You're stuck with extra sacrifice, or what else?
Yeah. I think about, I'm so hungry I ate half a sheet cake.
The calories, the weight,
the calories, the weight, the lethargy, the lack of self-control that you're just like, man, what is wrong with me? I was like an animal on that thing. So, those
guilty.
Yeah. So we don't feel good about ourselves, especially if we're like dieting or we're being really good and we just lose it. Of course it makes you feel bad. Buying that big purchase that you have and then afterwards you have no money. And then you're trying to scrimp to get by and the pleasure of that purchase has worn off. That relationship that you get into because that person is just super attractive and I can't wait to be with them physically. And then you do, and you find out that they're a jerk, that they have issues, that they are now stalking you. Like, think of all those things.
Oh, man.
So he's really telling you to consider both sides of the coin. And he's not telling you not to do it at the beginning. He's telling you to consider it. But he's also saying consider what comes afterwards. Then he goes on to say, and set before you in opposition to these, how you will rejoice and applaud yourself if you abstain. So now think about, I thought about what's good. I thought about what's bad. Now let me think about what's good if I don't do it.
Okay.
So it's kind of coming back to the pleasure that happens by saying no to it.
Or just saying, not now, wait, and maybe later.
Yeah, for some things. Yeah, for some things for sure. So, you stop and you think, man, I really wanted to buy this purchase, but you know what? I'm glad I didn't because it went on sale 2 weeks later for half price.
Right.
Or this relationship that I was going to jump into and be part of. I'm sure glad I didn't because, man, I turned out to be a crazy person and I just didn't want to, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with them. So waiting on that can definitely be a victory. He goes on to say, and even though it should appear to you a seasonable gratification, I love the way he puts that. It's good at the time. Take heed that its enticements and allurements and seductions may not subdue you. So don't let it pull you in. The shiny wrapping paper, don't let it pull you in. The beautiful car or TV or whatever it is, don't let it pull you in. That attractive person, don't let them pull you in. Don't let them subdue you. But set in opposition to this how much better it is to be conscious of having gained so great a victory. So I'm going to stop and say, nope, I'm not going to do any of these things. I'm going to restrain from them. But you know what? I won. I won against my own thoughts, my own desires, my own passions. I won, and I'm a better person for it because I exercise self-control.
Yep. I was going to say you gained better.
All right, sorry for the quick pause there. We had I don't know, it feels like we're going to war right now with all the jets taking off from here, but hey, I guess we know they work, so that's good. All right, guys, so that is our first little instruction from Epictetus. You kind of get to see his mindset on it. He's not about materialistic things. He's not about living for that moment of pleasure. He does realize that there is long-term consequences to the choices that we make, and so that's one thing that he's going to really kind of resurface a lot through a lot of his works that he does.
I kind of wonder in a way, like, what was he dealing with specifically in that moment? And I know it doesn't really say it there, but I think, what was it that he was dealing with? What were the things that were enticing him or things that were hard for him? Like, what were the things that he had a hard time with like on
Sure.
self-control and, you know.
I think that's a really good point, because when the Stoics write, it's not because they weren't experiencing any of this stuff and saying, this is my advice to you. They were going through this
They
stuff.
were going through it, yeah.
Think about where he came from. He was a slave for 30 years, and now he has his freedom. It's like, coming out of prison and you have your freedom. You want to go try everything. You want to experience everything. But he's telling himself, slow down and don't give over to these passions.
That's true. I didn't think about it that way.
Next one is, when you do anything from a clear judgment that it ought to be done, never shrink from being seen to do it, even though the world should misunderstand it. So if you're doing the right thing, if you are putting your time and energy into positive matters, who cares what people think of you? Don't hide. Don't hide behind it. Don't say, when I was a kid, it was like the thing that you never want to tell your cool friends at school, that you went to church. Because, they don't go to church, and they're going to think I'm weird for going to church. Somebody who's very spiritual like Epictetus would say that's crazy. Like, if you're doing something that's good, if you're doing something that's positive for your life, don't hide it. For if you are not acting rightly, then shun the action itself. That's the other side of the coin. If you're doing something that's not good, then don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you don't have to worry about people saying bad things about you. You just stop from doing it. And he goes on to say, if you are, then why fear those who wrongly censor you? If you are doing what's right, then why do you care about the words that people are saying about you?
I think based on the situation, it's easier said than done, because I had to go through that in former jobs that I worked at. And you always, you don't want to seem like the party pooper or
Sure.
the person who's just bringing the mood down or whatever. But in this job situation, it was, trying to figure out how adults couldn't realize or see the wrong that they were doing against children. And obviously it was easy for me to stand up for that, but in the moment it's hard.
Yes.
Because you expect these adults, these educators, these people who are put to a higher standard, and you see them do completely the opposite effect. It's just, and so again, so it depends on the situation. It's really hard being the one saying, hey, that's not right, you're doing wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and people would have probably said, and I'm sure other teachers would be like, Melinda, just let it go. It's just something that happens.
Oh yeah, we just shove it under the rug, turn an eye. Nope.
why do you got to cause problems, Melinda? Like, don't, just whatever. It's just, and that's what he's specifically talking about. Like, don't care what they say. Do the right thing. That's it, period.
Yeah.
And if you're doing the right thing, then you're in a better position than they are. So why do you care that they're saying anything about you or to you? So, very good. Okay, we're going to go on to our next one here. It is a mark of want of intellect to spend much time in things relating to the body, as to be immoderate in exercise, in eating and drinking, and in the discharge of other animal functions. So let's stop there really quick. He's saying it is a mark of lack of intelligence. You are stupid if you spend all of your time dealing with things of the matter of the body, like exercising, eating, overindulging, having sex, those things. If that is what your focus is on all of that, you have a lack of intelligence, because you don't understand what the important things are. Those things, he says, should be done incidentally, and our main strength be applied to our reason. Those are things just that we do. We have to do. We have to eat. We have to drink. We should have some kind of exercise in our life for that. We're in relationships where we have things like sex and love and romance and all those things, but that's just a side of what life is. Life is, the main thing is being our strength applied to our reason. What is right? What is wrong? What I should do to be good? What I should avoid that is bad? How I should help other people? Reading, understanding, studying, writing. Those are the things where we should spend our time.
Yeah, really living our purpose.
And we probably all know people that, at some point have lived for all of these things, that have dealt with it, and we've dealt with some of that ourselves, We've seen people that exercise 8 hours a day,
Yeah.
I think of Arnold Schwarzenegger spending 6 to 8 hours in the gym, and now look at him, all the muscles completely gone that he has, because it's age. Age gets to us,
Mm-hmm.
and that takes that away. But your faculties, your mind, as long as you're taking care of it, and sometimes things are out of our control, like, early onset Alzheimer's and things like that really attack our minds. But if we're taking care of our minds and we're working on those, we're strengthening them all the time, that's something that's going to last with us much longer than things like sexual relationships or working out and weightlifting. Good, good
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Eating is good,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine, but those things will fade very quickly.
Yeah.
It's what you build up in your head and in your heart that's going to last longer than that. So it's a short one, but a very good one
Good
for
points.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next one. These reasonings have no logical connection. I love this. So let's really listen to the words of this one. These reasonings have no logical connection. This makes no sense at all. For a person to say, I am richer than you, therefore I am better than you. Or I am more eloquent than you, therefore I am your superior. The true logical connection is rather this. I'm richer than you because I have more possessions than you. I am more eloquent than you, therefore my style must surpass yours. But you yourself, after all, consist neither in property nor in style. So we tend to see people as better than us when they're richer, when they have more possessions, when they have more power, when they speak with, just a rhetoric style that is so eloquent that it flows, that they can
Mm-hmm.
just stand there and speak to you and you're just in awe of them. And they're a better person than I am. Epictetus is saying, no, that's not what you're made of.
No.
You're not made of money or of speaking style.
Yeah.
So we've kind of talked about that too. Without giving away any names or information, you had a student that was talking about.
Yeah, just today, I had a student that, felt like other students were smarter than him, because they tend to understand the material better, or they tend to win more of the, class prizes and things like that. So, recently we had given away some ear pods, as an incentive, and, a couple of kids that had won those, had gotten a high score, and so, this student of mine was like, well, maybe if I would have tried harder, or maybe they're just, smarter than I am because they got a higher score on that test. And I was just like, no, I said, not at all. I said, because we're all students, we all learn differently, we all take a test differently. And I said, and maybe those things can come and change sooner than, it'd be nice if those could change sooner. I know, schools have always talked about, kids don't learn the same.
Yeah.
So the same way that kids are not going to take a test the same way. And I told him, I said, this test you took, you read it. I said, but maybe if it was read to you, or it was more of a hands-on, I said, we all learn differently. So I said, maybe, you would have scored a high score because the test was given to you
Mm-hmm.
differently. And I said, so it's not because those kids are smarter. It's just you learn differently.
Yes.
And you might have taken that test differently and scored really high. So, just it was kind of heartbreaking hearing him say that. So
Yeah, but see, he did exactly what Epictetus is saying. He looked at other people that said, you know more, you've read more, you're smarter than me because you can
mm-hmm.
finish faster. But the truth is, it's just that's the way they learn better. And for him, he had to go a different method to all of
Yeah.
that. So,
And that's what I told him. I
yeah.
said, those kids, I said, let's say you, and I asked him, I said, how do you think you would learn better? Or how do you think you would have scored higher? And he said, well, yeah, he's like, I am more of a hands-on person. And I said, well, see, we might have taken the test that way and they might have not scored very well because, they
Yeah.
learned the way
Yeah.
they originally took the test. So he was just like, oh, okay. Like I could see it clicking.
Yeah.
And, he seemed to walk away feeling a little bit better and like, oh, it's not because I'm dumb.
Yeah.
I'm a dumb kid and I don't understand.
And the great philosophers, didn't just learn from books. They learned from going out and walking around and observing and seeing nature and understanding how the human condition works. And so it wasn't just from reading or listening to a teacher. They were out there observing it, living it,
Mm-hmm.
practicing it. I think about the story of Zeno, the first Stoic, and he is with his teacher at the time, Kratos, and he's having him carry a bowl of lentil soup through a crowd of people to get over his fear of being humiliated. He's
Yeah.
trying to not spill the soup and all these people are bumping into him and stuff. He's doing something physical. He's not just telling him, hey, read this little section here and then write what that means to you, like we do with our students.
Yeah.
He's saying, go out there and experience this, see what this is like. And so that's what, where intelligence comes from. It's not in a specific way of learning. It's in a specific way of application.
That's true.
For it. So, all right, very good. Okay, let's see here. So we're going to continue on with that. Basically, he's saying, people are saying that I'm richer than you because I have more money, so I'm better than you, the way I speak. But after all, you consist in neither property nor in style. And that leads into our next one here that we're going to talk about. Flip over to this quickly. All right. The first and most necessary topic in philosophy is the practical application of principles, as we ought not to lie. The second is that of demonstration, as why is that we ought not to lie. And the third, that which gives a strength and logical connection to the other two, as why this is a demonstration. For what is demonstration? What is a consequence? What is a contradiction? What is truth? What is falsehood? The third point is then necessary on account of the second, and the second on account of the first. But the most necessary, and that whereon we ought to rest, is the first. But we do just the contrary, for we spend all our time on the third point, and employ all our diligence about that, and entirely neglect the first. So, very interesting the way he words this here. We read it. But what is the first and most necessary topic in philosophy? Is the practical application of principles. That's where we should be really focusing on that. We need to take the things and apply them to our lives. But we don't do that. We worry more about getting bogged into it, to what does it mean? And I'm better because I learn more than you do, or I know more than this. And he's saying, no. What's the first rule? Mm-hmm. Apply it to your life.
Application.
That's it. Apply it to your life. If you're not doing this, you're not succeeding. Epictetus tells us, don't tell me you read books. He's like, show me that you've applied them to your life. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you say you read 2,000 books. How is that affecting you positively right now? Mm-hmm. And if it's not, then none of it matters. So it has to be the application of philosophy before it. So we are going to do a lot more Epictetus over the next 3 weeks. We're going to get into the discourses. I hate calling them one-liners, but if you had a lot of one-liners in Stoicism, he has a ton of them that you can just apply to your life right away. So we're going to be talking about those coming up. But I love this. I'm going to really love this season a lot.
Me too. I'm excited.
Yeah, because
I'm really learning here, guys.
How many times do we have a teacher stand up in front of us and maybe lecture us or teach us something? We know nothing about them. You know, when we actually hear about these people's lives and the things that they went through, I feel like their philosophy means so much more to us. It comes so much more to life.
And sometimes because you can relate with some of them a lot of times.
Yeah.
You don't realize how much you have in common with them.
You read some of the stuff that Epictetus says and you're like, well, this is coming from a learned collegiate man that had studied his whole life. No, this is coming from a slave that took the time to study. And what did he do? He applied it to his life. And that's the important thing. So, all right, everybody, thank you for joining us. Sorry about the jets flying overhead, but your country apparently is well protected. So we know that. We'll be at a different location next time. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're excited for season 2. Make sure you tune in next week for us to listen to the next episode. And please go buy the book, Dear Marcus, Be Kind, on Amazon. And thank you for supporting us all. And until next time, everybody, Semper Studiosus. See you soon.